Do we have our own class of 92 brewing here at Hotspur Way? We've got Josh Keeley, we've got Alfie Dorrington, we've got Charlie Sayers, we've got Matthew Craig, Niall John, Iago Santiago, Pape Matassar, Jude Sunsop Bell, Alejo Valiz, Jamie Donnelly. I mean, this academy seems to be brewing some really good talent at the moment. Lee, do you think, would you go as far to say we got our own little class of 92 brewing at the moment?
Maybe. I mean, I did watch the highlights the other day of 2-0 victory over Stoke, which was pretty good. I mean, I thought, is that what's been clear? I mean, obviously, good friend of mine, John from the Lily White Rose, he watches all the academy football and gives me some good knowledge about that sort of stuff as well. I don't watch too much of it, but I did watch the Stoke the other day, and I think what's the biggest change for me, fundamental change, is that they're playing like the first team. So they're playing like the pathway to the first team, which, to me is just completely, that's how it should be. And it never was under the previous managers before, after Poch left. So that's really, really encouraging for me. When you say some of them names, would they get a chance in the first team? I think under this manager, they probably will. They might probably will. And I think that's really encouraging as well. I mean, Donnelly is outstanding. He's got
Harry Kane regen, mate.
He's on
I mean, absolutely fantastic. And you've got Susot Bell. If I've got your name wrong, sorry, I can't pronounce it. But again, he was pulling the strings and pulling defenders and stretching defenders the other day in the highlights that I watched. So, I think we've got an excitement back around the academy players. And there is a pathway to the first team. And I think that's really, really important. So probably not quite yet, because they need to start winning some stuff together as a group. I think the class of 92, there was 5 of them, or maybe 5 or 6 of them. They won the youth cups together. They won the trophies together. They had that, that bond. And then basically Sir Alex just lifted them up and put them into the first team. So there's a bit of way to go, but maybe the first seeds, Ben, of seeing our own club. Maybe it won't be class of 92. Maybe it might be the class of 27. Don't know, 25. Yeah. Maybe the class of 25. I don't know.
Dave, but 100% record with the under-21 so far, 7 games won in a row in all competitions. I've been watching a lot of the highlights, and it's impressive stuff. I mean, Jamie Donnelly really does look like he's taken a lot of inspiration off Harry Kane, and you're just seeing these players just flourish and getting the numbers consistently. How excited are you about this academy group at the moment?
Look, I'm very excited. I've been speaking about this class of 92 all summer long on my channel. I'm very excited about what we've coming up. This is a league that we got relegated out of last season, but due to rule changes, we're back in it, and now we're absolutely dominating it. But that's down to the style of football. The way that we play. A lot of a Premier League 2 academy football, it's sort of standoffish. It's not really competitive, and Spurs have changed that up in that regard with the high press and looking to win the ball back. And then obviously once we do that and the work rate shines through, then it's about the quality, and the quality is proven to be there. And you look at a lot of that under 21 squad, and this is where I slightly disagree with Lee on it, is a lot of them are on the young side of 21. So we still have time to develop them and get them through. And a lot of them players were the part of the success last season of the under 17s and the under 18s. And when you look at this season, top of the league, that looks set to continue. Still in the cup after a late dramatic fight back against Sunderland, winning 3-2. And then Colchester, a team that we struggled with the likes of Dyer, Davies, Session, Doherty, Gedson, Fernandez, we went out to penalties to. These kids had them chasing shadows all game long in the Football League trophy, thumping them 5-0. They couldn't get near them. So for me, I think a lot of them are actually supremely talented. And I think that Wayne Burnett has done a very good job with them. But also you look at the under-18s, one loss this season at the very first game. They've won every game since as well. And they're stacked with the likes of Mikey Moore, Oliver Iro, Tyrese Hall, people like that still to come true. Now, where there's a pathway is, and there hasn't been in years gone by, is that I think we are looking at bringing some of these guys through, or keeping the pathway clear for some of these guys to come through. And the reason why I say that is when you look at previous years, we've got barely any academy players loaned out. The ones that we didn't see a future for with, we terminated in the summer. So we've got players that are at the club, and I think the club are looking at. And the reason why I say that is, You look at the price of homegrown players now, the premium that's on them. That premium is only getting higher and higher and higher. Soon we're going to be priced out the market of homegrown players. So we now have to start producing our own. And there's been a big emphasis on that, I think, because when you look at the amount of changes we made to the academy system with Paratici coming in here, the way he brought in the scouts to be able to identify talents from abroad, from other academies in and around England as well, bringing them into our academy. When you look at the payment structure, all that changed. Dean Rastrick, who carried on from John McDermott's philosophy, was about paying the players as little as you can and keeping them hungry. But Paratici changed that, and he changed the payment structure. And it's like, well, in order to have the best sort of academy products and drag it up to the standards of what other academies are at in England, you have to start paying these guys what they're worth to keep them here, to sign them on the dotted line. And also the fact that I think that a lot of them have been promised, or a pathway has sort of been laid out to them. That's why they brought in Andy Skolden. That's what his job is, to find a pathway from the under-21s into the senior team. The amount of money they invested into scouts, like I said. And it was one of the first things Paratici done when he came in here, was getting improved funding for the academy to drag it up to standard of other clubs. So there's been a lot of heavy investment into that academy. And the amount, a lot of the players, Mikey Moore, Dorrington, Donnelly, they've all signed long-term contracts. They've committed to Tottenham long-term. When you go through some of the contracts that are coming up, let's start with the goalkeepers. Lloris is up this season. Forrester's up at the end of the season. Brandon Austin. So that clears the pathway for someone like Josh Keeley or Luca Gunter to come in as a number 2. You go into centre-back, you got Eric Dyer's contract up at the end of this year. Davies up in 2 years' time. Joe Roden won't be Davies won't be renewed after 2 years. Joe Roden looking to sell. Tanganga, I think we're probably looking to sell. If we do qualify for Europe, that triples the amount of games we have. Yes, I think we'll go and sign one more centre-back, but I think the plan after that is Phillips and Dorrington to sort of fill out the squad. And I know people say, well, what about getting them out on loan? But you can still play them in under 21 games if they're not being used for the senior team. When you go into midfield, Perisic, he's on his way out. Højbjerg, his contract is coming up. So that clears the way for Alfie Devine out on loan. Someone like Donnelly, who, by the way, started out as a striker, but because of injuries last season in the academy, he ended up playing centre mid, right mid, left mid, cam, striker, everywhere to fill in for the team. And his output never changed in terms of goals and assists. And you look at him this season, he's absolutely on fire. I call him the Dominator because he's already got 5 goals, 7 assists in 7 appearances, but it's also the work rate out of possession. And if some of our injuries keep coming, he could very quickly find himself, in and around the first team. I think Sun Bell has been absolutely amazing down that right-hand side. What a signing he was. So I do think, when you look at it, there is a pathway for them to be able to get in here with the amount of contracts that are up. I think you've got, 14, 15 contracts up over the next 2 years, and a lot of them are actually dead wood, and a lot of them make our homegrown quota. So I think the plan is they'll end up going. Some of these guys will be dragged up, given an opportunity with the likes of Europe, FA Cup, League Cup, and Premier League next season. And I think then it saves us having to dip into the market and spend hundreds of millions of pounds on homegrown players, like what Arsenal had to do with Declan Rice. But yet we signed Basuma for a fraction of the price, and he's 10 times the player than what Declan Rice is. And I just I think that's the future of the club. When you look at what we've done since Paratici came here, and I know I've had a lot of criticism about me calling him the Don. Look, that's only me sort of play acting, but I did like his recruitment, and he's lowered the average age of the first team. But also they've thrown a lot of money into that academy, getting the structure in place and everything else. And I think the plan is to bolster the squad with some of the class of 92 we've got coming through. And I haven't even gone on about the under-18s, Mikey Moore, who'll be a cert to get into the Tottenham team in the future. He's that good. Ollie Iro. So, I think combined with a couple of signings and some of these youngsters, there's your squad going forward. Young, hungry, energetic, ready to win. That's Tottenham's plan.
I absolutely love that.
Mate, Dave, it's absolutely insane knowledge. And by the way, Paratici is the Don, mate. He might have done some wrongs back in the day, but he's been absolutely brilliant for Tottenham Hotspur.
All Dons have a bit of criminal activity, don't they?
That's what makes him the Don.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And Dave, that speech just now just made me so excited because I was actually chatting to Sim. I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago. Tickets are out to see Spurs Chelsea under 21s at
Stevenage.
Stevenage on Monday night, and I think we're going to go. The tickets are a £5, and I am definitely going to go because I mean that speech has just confirmed it in my mind. 100%, I'm going.
They're an unbelievable watch. Unbelievable. They play very similar to Ange Postecoglou, like Lee alluded to. The formation is slightly different. They play a 4-2-3-1, and they don't play the inverted wing backs. But Sunset Bell, Donnelly, people like that, they'll have you out your seat. They smashed Colchester, a team that a lot of our big professional players on 80 grand a week struggled with under Pochettino. That's telling a lot about them, in my opinion.
Was it Colchester's first team?
Yeah. It's the EFL trophy. So the under-21s are put into a group stage with teams from League 1 and League 2. And then, they battle out amongst themselves for a trophy. That's a competition we struggle in. We've only won one game in that over the last few years. And this year we went out first game, smashed Colchester up 5-0. So who knows where we can go with it.
That's incredible. But Sim, I was speaking to you about this the other day, the under-21s. You were saying maybe it's important to not put too much pressure on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think calling them the class of 92 and saying they're going to look, I think it does seem to be a bit of a golden generation, to be fair, when it comes to our academy, because I can't remember a time when we've been so excited about so many different academy players at any one time. And I, for one, am also very, very excited about a lot of the prospects and how they're playing. And
so me and you were gassed about Lee Barnard. Don't lie.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. There's also been players that we've talked up and given like big expectations, like Troy Parrott, for example. I know he could still be a good player, and look, he's played for Ireland, and he is a good player in his own right. But I think we put him under a lot of pressure, expecting him to be the next big thing. And when he did get the first team opportunities, never really did it. And then all of a sudden, you got fans criticizing him, saying he's never going to be good enough. All these kind of things. And I think it's important not to put too much pressure on these young players who need to find their own way and their own pathway. But for sure, like.
Can I just come in on that quickly, Sim? I think the problem in years gone by is there wasn't a pathway for them. So we've ended up loaning them out to continue their development. But where we've loaned them out to, don't play any similar way of what Tottenham playing. We haven't been able to give them an opportunity in amongst our best players to see if they're actually good enough. And what's ended up happening is they've got lost on their loan moves. They picked up a lot of long-term injuries. In Troy Parrott's case, a lot of long-term injuries on loan moves, and stuff like that. And I think it's a bit different this time is you look at the amount of contracts up in 2024 and 2025. A lot of them, they won't be around, and there is a pathway for them this time. You put them in and around this Tottenham first team, they will survive, because in years gone by, the academy and first team were playing different styles of football. Now they're aligned, so it's not a question of an academy player having to come up and getting used to tactics and different instructions. They already know what's expected of them. Now it's just, do you have the quality to execute it? And that's the difference then in years gone by.
100%, and I hope we stick with that pathway, because I remember under Pochettino, when we had him, I remember Poch was very not big on he did bring in through a few academy players, but I remember there was a concerted effort to have the academy play in the same way as the first team, and that was a really good direction to go in. But obviously we kind of scrapped that when we got rid of Pochettino and we went in a very different direction. So I really hope that in the long term we stick with that kind of game plan. We stick with a kind of this is going to be how we want to play football now. And even if Postecoglou does leave, and we will need to find a manager who plays a similar way of playing as well. So that means when academy players do step up to the first team, it isn't they're just thrown cold and they have to learn a new way of playing, but they know the system. They know how to play in that system already. And that'll give a much more fighting chance to being a lot more effective and having that pathway to the first team 100%. Don't get me wrong, I'm super, super excited about a lot of these young players and the names you were naming before, Ashley Phillips as well. And you've got the Croatian guy. Huh?
I hope you're excited about them as you are about Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. But you got the Croatian kid coming as well in 2 years' time.
Luka.
As well. Yeah, Luka. Like we didn't mention him as well. He's also a very exciting prospect. But at the end of the day, they're very Scarlett's still there, but they're very, very young players. It's one thing impressing in the academy, impressing at youth level, and it's another thing stepping up to the first team. We've seen there's countless. You can probably name hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players who have done so well in academy, and then they haven't really made the step up to proper Premier League first team level. So I don't want to say that they're not going to make it, because I'm sure that a lot of these players and there's a lot to be excited about, 100%. And the fact that we're investing in our youth team, and we know we've got the best facilities around for all these youth players to develop, and there's no better place potentially than Tottenham right now to be a youth player. But I do think we should keep our feet on the ground about a lot of these young players and not expect too much too soon from them, because they need to all develop at their own rate.
Yeah, I just to add on that, I mean, I think Chelsea absolutely smashed this through when Christian Perslow was there, and actually I was chatting to John about this a couple of weeks ago. Now, from a business model perspective, sorry to talk about the business side, but from a business model perspective, it's okay to sell some of them youth players as well. If you know, they've created a pathway to get them to where they need to be. If they want to move on, or we can't get them into the first team because we're winning Champions Leagues and we're winning titles and we kind of don't need them, if for one of a better expression, you can go and sell them, homegrown talent for a premium, 20 million, 25 million, 30 million. Chelsea have done that, which is why they've got rid of that whole financial fair play situation as well. So, there is a development, as Tottenham as a development football academy to get to the first team. Absolutely brilliant. I don't think there's anything more rewarding than seeing the likes of a Harry Kane, Harry Winks when he first come through, or Oliver Skipp. These players coming through, one of our own, if you like. That's very, very rewarding. We want to see that. But actually, if they like a Harry Winks, if they get to the point where actually it's time to move on, or they get to the first team but they can't just quite break in, there's nothing wrong also in selling them for 25 million, 20 million, or whatever it is. I know Harry went for a little bit less than that, but that's where you can start to balance out them bigger signings if you need to bring people in. Look, I run a recruitment company called Raw Talent for 10 years before I set up my tech business, and that is all about bringing through the youth of the sales world, of the business world, essentially. So I'm deeply passionate. Probably I'm not as knowledgeable as Dave, clearly, but deeply passionate about bringing the youth through. But actually, there's also no reason if actually they've done well in the academy that you can actually move them on as well for their career and also for the benefit of the club. Does that make sense? So I think there's a good balance there as well. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You look at Cole Palmer. He didn't even have that many appearances, did he? For Man City, went for 45 million.
Exactly. But you look at what City have sold out of that academy. Romain Lavia, Bazunu, they're propping
Trafford,
up.
Trafford went for 15 million. He didn't play it at all. Didn't play a game.
Exactly. And people keep going, where can Man City keep getting the money to fund these £100 million pound-players? Now, look, we obviously know where to get a lot of it, but some of it is funded by youth sales. They do get a good, sort of resale value, and that can also boost our transfer coffers then to put into the senior team. And that's something we failed to do down the last few years. Marcus Edwards, Noni Madueke, people that have got, Madueke went to Chelsea for a big fee. That would have been nice in our transfer coffers. For instance, a guy that walked away because there was no pathway for him, so he didn't sign on the dotted line. Lewis Binks went out to Italy. There's a number of players I can pull up that have done this to us, and look, rightly so. If there's no pathway for them and they're looking up at Sanchez and people like that ahead of them before, going, how can I not get a game ahead of this guy? I'm out here. But this time around, the reason why they all signed on the dotted line is because they see that pathway. They've been told about the pathway for them to develop. And even if look, obviously, not all of them are going to make it. You can never say that all of them are going to make it, but we'll take the best ones, and ones that don't make it, you sell on. And you keep propping up your transfer money like that as well.
Absolutely spot on. So, I mean, a lot of things to get excited about. I think that does bring an end to the show. Thank you so much to Lee and Dave for coming and joining us today on the panel. Lee, do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Mate, at Lee McQueen, I'm all over X. Lee.McQueen on Instagram as well. You can, if you're into your kind of LinkedIn and all that sort of stuff, you just find me, Lee McQueen, mate. It's a unique name, to be fair. And obviously, I'm always on Last One on Spurs for doing all of the reviews and that sort of stuff with Ricky and the rest of the guys and girls that we have on the show as well. So big up for having me on, boys, because I absolutely love watching your shows. I think your content is absolutely top drawer. And I look forward to next one. I actually wanted to invite you both to do a Last One on Spurs versus We Are Tottenham TV panel type show. So if you're up for doing that between you two and me and Ricky or something like that, it'd be absolutely superb. So we'll have to get that in the diary later.
We'd love to. We'd love to.
Definitely. Dave, let the people know where they can find you. What's going on the Irish Hotspur this week?
Yeah, look, not as big as, yourselves or Last Word on Spurs. I'm one of them smaller channels out there, but you can find me over at the Irish Hotspur. I try and put out as much content as we can over there. So that's where you'll find me. Really enjoyed this tonight. Thanks for having me, Ben and Simon. Great to be on with you, Lee. A really good show. Really enjoyed it, boys.
Perfect.
Top man, Dave. You're superb, mate. Absolutely superb.
Like I said, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you guys out there in the comments for coming and joining us tonight. We'll see you all very soon. Tomorrow is another day of Tottenham content. We'll see you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on,
you Spurs.